In tennis, the very first thing which a new recruit would be indoctrinated with would be how to hold the racket. Since it was the very first question which everyone had to grapple with. Maybe for this sentimental reason, this topic has claimed a special place of importance in the hearts and minds of most tennis players. And over the years, a whole cottage industry has been created and flourished around this rather straightforward and uncomplicated task. It is truly amazing how much hay can apparently be made out of a hand holding onto a simple octagonal handle. So, with all that hot air, the whole thing has ballooned, and a seemingly mundane function was transformed into an almost medical procedure, where the facets of the racket's handle have been numbered, the knuckles, fingers and the other features of the hand have been assigned specific posts on the sides of the handle. A half-dozen configurations have materialized literally out of nowhere, and a bunch of catchy names were coined to identify them: Eastern, Western, semi-this, and semi-that, and of course, my personal favorite,
Continental.
But in the midst of it all, the primary reasons for gripping the racket handle have been obscured, or completely forgotten, while at the same time, all these so-called instructions seem to leave more questions than answers in their wake. So, it might be a high time to wipe the slate clean and merely outline the reasons why you are gripping the racket. The chances are that when these reasons become clear, how the racket should be gripped will become self-evident, and people might stop looking for answers in the places where none could ever be found. Let's take it from the top. In the grand scheme of things, the tennis racket is a tool, the kind of tool which becomes an extension of one's body. Before this tool could be used, or is swung into action, so to speak, one must make sure that this tool is, first of all, properly fastened to the user's body, and second, is correctly aligned in order to do its job. Both of these issues get addressed by the way you hold onto the racket's handle. The orientation of the racket at the moment of impact is the proverbial dog which wags the tail. The alignment of the racket's face at that very instant is exactly what will keep the ball inside the lines and over the net, or not. And thus, the grip formation should begin not with placing your knuckles onto the handle in some prescribed order, but with the correct racket face orientation at the moment of impact. As a rule, the string bed of the racket at the moment of collision with the ball must be positioned vertically. Once the racket is placed in its proper, the moment of impact, orientation, then the striking stance and the posture should be assumed behind the racket. When that is done, you simply reach out and grab the racket's handle with your hand as comfortably as you know how. And lo and behold, you've got yourself a perfect grip. Grabbing the handle comfortably means that the fingers should be wrapped around the handle naturally. The wrist and the forearm should remain in their sturdiest and the most natural juxtaposition. This juxtaposition has been predetermined by the human anatomy itself, and did not come from some instructional manual of questionable origins. To do what they have to do effectively, the hand and the fingers should not, as a starting point, be forced into some contrived configurations, be it Eastern, Western, or otherwise continental. They should simply be made comfortable, and that's all. Once the grip and the wrist positions, for both the forehand and the backhand strokes, are established in this manner, they must be simply memorized, and, from that point on, they should not be altered or fiddled with. Because only by maintaining these relationships unchanged, you can be sure that your racket, when it arrives to the point of impact, will be properly oriented. Whichever way the racket face becomes pointed, throughout all other stages of the stroke and its preparations, is absolutely irrelevant. Parroting those orientations, as so many have been suggesting, is ludicrous and pointless. Only the instant of impact matters. When the face of the racket is properly positioned, and the fingers are wrapped securely around the handle, a unique sensation of how the facets feel in your hand is formed, and it becomes associated with that particular alignment of the racket. From that point on, without having to look at the racket, relying only on the tactile sensation, one can always be sure that the racket will end up being properly oriented at the moment of impact. But if instead a player begins gripping the racket, according to some match your knuckle to a number system, the chances are that he or she will end up with a racket all out of whack, and will have to resort to twisting the wrists in all sorts of ways, contorting the body into a pretzel, and deforming the swing, just to bring the racket's face into the proper alignment. All of these body and wrist contortions, aside from looking rather stupid and downright ugly, can only undermine and weaken the structural integrity of the striking mechanism, which these players and their coaches allegedly are trying to create. And on top of it all, they will increase the risk of injuries greatly. Nothing which looks so darn unnatural can possibly be good for you. So, after all is said and done, like it or not, but in certain quarters, this whole business of gripping the racket doesn't seem to amount to a hill of beans.
Got broken first game, got broken last game, so it's just perfect. Two more please, man.
Roger, I've got a question about your forehand technique. I'm not sure this is the right place to ask such a question or not, but
I'm not sure if we can answer, but go ahead.
what exactly is your forehand grip? You know, some people say it's Eastern, some say it's semi-Western, and some say it's between these two.
Honestly, I don't know what my grip is called. That's not how I was taught my grip, hold it, you know, like Western.
Do you change your grip based on the surface you play on?
No, I think the forehand grip is always the same. I mean, yeah, it is. And the backhand, obviously with slice and coming over it is totally different. And the serve again, so it's just all automatic. I don't know how to explain. Just And sometimes clearly you have the wrong grip and then you try to make it. On the return especially it happens the most because the ball comes quicker, so you have less time, but I honestly don't know what is called my forehand grip.
Also
Find out.